Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of On Point for today, Friday the 7th day of November 2025. My name is Alexis Jeffers, and of course it is always my pleasure being here on a Friday afternoon from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And during that course of time we divulge information. Of course, we update the general public on various things, and it is a mixed bag of chips, so to speak. When we come here, we talk about all kind of things. Anyway, so it's good to be here, and let me start off by apologizing for last week. Of course, it almost seemed like the apologies are coming a bit frequent, but indeed, when there are things to be done outside of these studios or that of national importance, then of course we have to attend to those. So last week we had Parliament at the federal level. The National Assembly would have met last Friday, and indeed that will take precedence over this show at any time, because that is where the effort is, and that is what I have been elected to do, and that is to represent the people of Nevis 11, St. James and St. Thomas Parish at the federal level, so I have to be there. Let me say, though, while I am touching that, I'm so disappointed that after so many years, it doesn't seem as though we can get it right at the federal level, at the National Assembly. It is always advertised on the news items that we hear on the different social media platforms that Parliament will start at 10, and sometimes we're there until 11, after 11. Well, we'll be lucky if it starts somewhere between 11 and 11:30, which is, in my opinion, is rather disrespectful to those who would tune in at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., and hoping to hear the commencement of Parliament, but it doesn't get started until an hour later, sometime more than an hour. And it is just out of sheer frustration I'm mentioning that, but indeed the persons who are involved or who normally manages the Parliament over there must know that the general public cannot be happy after so many years, the same old, same old. So we need to get that right. And then once it starts late, then you're there until dusk in the evening, when in truth and fact those time could have been made up once we started early. I'm saying that because yes, we have an obligation to be there, but also we must understand that persons are, expecting the best out of us as parliamentarian and out of the Parliament as well. While I'm saying that, let me give commendation to the persons who manages the assembly here on the island of Nevis, because when we say 10 o'clock, it is normally 10, maybe 1 minute past 10, but at least we don't have that delay in the start of the assembly here on Nevis. It's always on time, and I must commend all of the folks, the clerk and president and even the ministers who show up on time. Yeah, because it cannot get started until ministers or the participants are there. Yeah, so that I thought I'll mention from the get-go, that we need to get these things right, and everything in the community that we organize, whether as a government, as community-based group. Churches generally start on time, of course, and so there are certain areas that are excelling in that regard, but there are the important area of our national Parliament that just seem to be lagging behind in terms of getting it right. So that is just my take on that. So let us do better, because we can do better. And I will say further that we leave Nevis, 4 of us, the Honorable Mark Brantley, Eric Evelyn, Latoya and myself. We leave here but most times at around 8:30, get to St. Kitts, and sometime we'll grab a breakfast, of course. And by 9:30, quarter to 10, we are at the Parliament. And then we have to sit around until 11 o'clock, and after 11 to get started. That can't be right. And I don't care who would be disappointed in me saying this. It is not right, and it cannot be right, and it cannot be seen to be right by anyone who respect time and respect the persons who they serve. Yeah. So in saying that, hopefully this could make a difference. But we are always on time, and so I must say that, and I have put it on record, And so hopefully those who are listening and those who would acknowledge what I'm saying will do better and make sure we get it right. Okay, so moving right along to the next item on the list of things to cover today. Condolences. I want to express condolences to all of the grieving family members out there of mine, and also those who are in the community who are grieving at this time as well. I know from time to time we will lose a loved one, because that is just the nature of life. And so we are with you, standing with you, and praying for you in terms of ensuring that the Lord will provide you with that type of protection and deliverance in these difficult times. I don't have anyone on my list at this point in time, but of course there are families, I'm sure, that are going through some degree of grieving at this time. So I just want to acknowledge you and pray that the Lord will bless you at this time as well. There are persons who, if not grieving, are celebrating some sort of occasion, whether it's a birthday, anniversary, or some special occasion. I want to express best wishes to you. I do have one or two persons, a couple of persons here who are celebrating today. First of all, Nana Atherton. Boy, Nana, I don't even remember what your first name is, your correct name, because you're affectionately called Nana, but I believe you have a correct name. But you know, some people are fond of their nickname, and so I believe Nana has embraced this name over the years. So Nana, good afternoon and happy birthday to you. Have yourself a wonderful day today. And of course, I know you can celebrate, and you will celebrate, and those around you will ensure that you have a wonderful time as well. So God bless you and all the best throughout the rest of today. And if you want to take it into the next week and into the next 2 weeks, it's up to you. You have my blessings on that. Of course, today also is the birthday of Denny Warner over there in Cotton Ground. Denny, I know well. Happy birthday to you, Denny. And of course, Ursia Blake, who is from the Stony Grove area. I think I heard that today is her birthday as well. Enjoy your birthday, both of you, and all those who are celebrating today as well. You have my blessings as well, and God's blessings also. Tomorrow is someone from over there in Newcastle area, Dylan Griffin. I know Dylan very well, and Dylan know how to celebrate, and he will celebrate tomorrow, I'm sure. Happy birthday in advance, Dylan. And of course, Leroy Paris Jr., that guy who plays that melodious steel pan. Well, of course, Leroy know how to celebrate as well. When he get up there by his friend Fish, they're gonna have a good time up there at Stony Grove as well. So Leroy, have a wonderful day tomorrow, and all those who are celebrating over the next couple of days, have a wonderful and safe celebration. And as I always say, if you have $1, spend it on yourself. Enjoy your birthday. Once you have health and strength, then of course you will replenish that. But whatever you have, spend it on yourself and enjoy your birthday as if it's the last. But we wish you many more, and I'm sure the Lord will bless you with many, many more years of celebration. So that's it for the celebration side of it, and we move right along. Of course, I just came inside, and the weather outside is very nice. We've had some good weather over the last couple of days. Of course, this is my first program since the onslaught of Melissa in Jamaica, and so I want to express my best wishes to all those who have been impacted in the country of Jamaica. I understand certain parts of Jamaica would have been hit rather hard, of course, yes, Westmoreland and also areas in close proximity. But of course, some persons as well would have lost their lives, and we want to express sympathies from all of us here on the island of Nevis. There are persons in Jamaica who have a connection here to the island of Nevis in terms of your family being here, or you would have lived here in the past and have since moved back to Jamaica. So we understand the connection, and we are standing in solidarity with you as well. And so I wish you well in your recovery. It's not going to be easy, but it can be made a bit more easy once you were to band together and pool resources, do whatever is necessary to look out for your brother or your sister. And of course, understand that these setbacks in life happen from time to time. Could have been someone else, but this time it is you and your country. But we wish you well in your recovery. We have had these type of circumstances here in the Federation in the past, and other countries here in the Eastern Caribbean have had to deal with this tragic situation of these monster storms that come off of the Atlantic coast or the African coast and come across the Atlantic Ocean, yes. And so we understand what they're like. As a matter of fact, speaking of hurricane and what they have come to these days, and the velocity or ferocity, whatever word you want to use, because they're getting stronger and stronger every year. And so most of the meteorologists out there are becoming even more baffled. I am sure saying most of them might be stunned at this point to see the magnitude of some of these hurricanes. But we've always heard the talk of what you call it now, climate change and warm ocean water temperatures, you know. And some of these things are what fuel some of these hurricanes and make them what they are, or what they eventually will become. So we have this situation where around this time, or between June 1st and November 30th, you have this hurricane season where anything can happen. It's the summer months and water temperatures are hot, and so those fuel some of these storms to the point where they become so difficult to deal with and difficult to gauge, because it can be a category 1 today, tomorrow you hear it's a category 2, and in a few hours it's a category 5. So this one in particular, Melissa, would have sat in the ocean just south of Jamaica for a couple of days, as if to send a message, so to speak, and then it picked up some of that energy, and the onslaught came thereafter, and it was certainly a horrific time, but persons apparently picking up the pieces and trying to get their act back together again. So I believe about 60 lives were lost, along with property damage and the likes. But in it all, those who would have survived, you have to give the God thanks anyway for his tender mercies towards you. And we continue to pray for you at this time as well. Okay, so let's move right along. And of course, sometimes we have some public announcements that we have to make, and so I want to once again touch on this promotion that is coming up. We say I'm doing this so often, it almost seems like it's my promotion, but anyway, I am doing my public service here for the guys over there in Brick Hill who are having this promotion come the 29th of November, which is in the next couple of weeks. So it's the Link Promotions 5th Annual Pork and Beer Festival that would be held over there at the Whitehall Hard Court in Brick Hill, and that's on the 29th of November, starting at 12 p.m. 12 noon until. And then of course they say it's free admission, but once you get there, there will be entertainment by the Odyssey Band, Collision Band, DJ Dangles, Dynamic Sound, Braveheart Sound, Selector Bobby and Toby, DJ Wet Dot, Tough House Sound, Rokodan, Speedy, Pakis, Empress, Ritik, and many more will be added by the time we get to the 29th of November. Lots of food and drinks, of course, and then there'll be fun for the entire family. So it is a day that you would want to put on your calendar. Saturday the 29th of November, over there at the old Whitehall grounds, the hard court that is over there in Brick Hill. So I'm inviting one and all. A few persons have met me and told me that they'll see me over there on that day. That would be on the 29th. I'm hoping to be around for that. So come out and support. Give the young guys some support so that they can continue this event for years to come. This is the 5th, so you'll want to hear about the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, and onwards. Yeah. So see you all being well on the 29th of November. Okay, that takes care of that. And of course, we move on to the next item I had here on my list to take care of. At this time of the month, at the start of the new month, and we just started 7 days ago, normally we would provide you with the data from the Wally Water Taxi Facility. And some may ask, well, why do you keep bringing this every month? It is important because inside of certain data you can get certain messages, or you can plan for the future based on what you're seeing. Because over there at the Wally Water Taxi Facility, we're now looking at perhaps extending the pier over there. And that is just, I say perhaps. No one come and say I say. I am saying perhaps, because you have seen an increase in the amount of boats. You have seen an increase in the amount of passengers moving back and forth over there. And increase the movements will suggest to me, if you have more boats, you have more passengers, then of course you'll have more congestion at the pier. So perhaps that is something for the authorities to look at. So that is why we keep the numbers at our fingertips, so that at least you can use these numbers to justify any future expansion or any future development that might take place over there. So for the month of October, we saw passenger movement of 21,904. 21,904 passengers would have used the facility over there during the month of October. And indeed, we normally would keep a running tally as to what has transpired since May of 2019 up until, well, we had the data up until September of this year. So we are now going to add October data or passenger movement to what we had before. So up to the end of September, we had 1,328,514 passengers who would have used that facility. So we are adding the 21,904 as of the end of October. So we are now up to 1,350,418 passengers who would have used that facility up to this point of keeping these data on record. Yeah, so 1.3 plus million passengers have passed through that. I would say that small facility over there. That's a facility that many had so many opposition to, and we decided that we'll press on and have it done because we understand the impact that that particular development or that particular facility would have had on the traveling public here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And of course, boy oh boy, it has had a significant impact. And so not only passenger movement, but a ripple throughout the entire economy of St. Kitts and Nevis. Everyone who are associated with, 1, people, 2, business, 3, transportation, all of that has been have been impacted in a positive way. And so we can always say in a definitive way that this project has been a money generating project. Yeah, and some persons don't like to hear me talk about money, but you get into a business or businesses like this, you're going in it to make money. The boat operators would have bought their boats, and taxi operators would have purchased new taxis and so forth to make money, and so they come to this facility to make money. Okay, and so if I were to give one other bit of information regarding the data that we are currently, keeping track of over there at Wally, to this point in time, the end of October, for this year only, this year 2025, 253,053 passengers would have used that facility. Last year, I believe we ended at somewhere around 310,000. So it seems like we are on track to perhaps surpass, because we're getting into the tourist season where additional flights will be coming into St. Kitts, where passengers will be coming over to Nevis to stay at our hotels and guest houses, and of course our people will be traveling out of not Nevis, but out of the Federation through RLB to head to various international destinations. And so persons who are staying at Park Hyatt who want to come over and see what Nevis is like, or down at the Marriott, or even if they're staying in some of these Airbnbs on St. Kitts or also on Nevis, would want to go over to St. Kitts to see what St. Kitts is like, and by the same token come over from St. Kitts to see what Nevis is like. As a matter of fact, last week while we were down at the Marriott, I saw a couple, and I just happened to start a conversation, and they're staying at the Marriott, and I told them, listen, come over to Nevis and see what Nevis is like. But incidentally, they had their trip planned already. They said they were coming on Saturday. This was Saturday, last Saturday, that is, yeah. So they more than likely would have come and got a taste of what Nevis is like. And we are hoping that if they decide to come back to the Federation, they would come to Nevis and stay in Nevis instead, and then go over to St. Kitts and spend a day or whatever the case might be. Nothing is wrong with that. 2 island, 1 paradise, you can stay in either one. And so we're still beseeching persons to come to Nevis, because here's where the action is at. This is the place where many love to come. And with all of the celebrities that come to these parts and all of the movies that are being produced here on the island of Nevis, they would want to come to see what Nevis is like. And they're coming to see what Nevis is like and what this place is all about, because others have come and keep coming. So the curiosity in them would want to come, and that is why they're coming. And I anticipate that even this upcoming tourist season will be one that all taxi operators or hotel operators, guest house operators, Airbnbs, and or rental company operators or owners and operators will be happy in the end, because once they come and utilize all of these services, then of course there will be more money in the economy for everyone, because when they come, they're coming to spend. And if they come to spend, you just do what is necessary. You do the right thing. Make sure you offer top-notch service, so at least they would be pleased to spend their money. And once they're pleased to spend their money, they'll always spend and spend some more and keep spending. Okay? So that's my take on all that is happening around us, because this island, I am certain that we can debate this all day, and I know that you won't change my mind about the island of Nevis and what I think about the island of Nevis. It is paradise on earth. I will back up and say that in my travel, I always say, and I've said it here before and I'll say it again, and someone did tell me they're going to take it and use it elsewhere as well too, that when I get up to introduce myself in any forum, internationally or abroad, I will say that I am from Nevis, and Nevis to me is the closest place or the nearest thing to heaven and the closest thing to paradise. Let's put it the other way. The closest thing to paradise and the nearest thing to heaven. I've never been to heaven, so I cannot say it's heaven. So it's the closest thing to, the nearest thing to heaven, and of course the closest thing to paradise. So you can take it and use it, and some people smile when they hear me say that, because of course the understanding is there. The closest thing to paradise and the nearest thing to heaven, that is Nevis for you. Love it here. Okay, let's move right along. I think this is the first time I'm coming since our convention was held over there at the NEPAC on the 26th it was of October. Yes, because I missed the last show, so I wasn't here. So I want to say how grateful I am and how happy I am for the turnout of all of those supporters and well-wishers who came. I want to thank you for coming, because from what I understand, there were just about 390 something plus persons based on the count, but I would say it was more like about 400 persons. Not everyone came into the auditorium or came into the NEPAC to hear all of the speeches, but there were persons who were out in the courtyard all afternoon, and that was their way of showing their support and making their presence felt. But indeed, it was a wonderful convention down there at NEPAC, and CCM can be proud. Well, let me say the Concerned Citizens Movement, or the CCM as we say, can be proud of the support that was given, and indeed can be proud of the supporters who continue to lend their support to this great party. Indeed, the Premier of Nevis is still the leader of the party, and there was a new executive that was sworn in, and I want to congratulate all those who have their positions that they would have held on to, or those who have new positions now. And so your job now is to continue the work of the party and to ensure that the whole of Nevis continue to hear the message that is being put out there by the Concerned Citizens Movement. And of course, persons continue to gravitate to this party because, of course, when you compare both parties, both established parties here on the island of Nevis, some will say it's like chalk and cheese, some would say it's like night and day, some will say it's good versus bad. And so the CCM continues to provide good leadership as the theme for the day indicated. Proven leadership, secure future. Proven leadership, and we have proven in terms of leadership, it is leadership that you can trust, and the leadership has been in place since 40 years ago, or nigh 40 years ago, because we'll celebrate 40 years in January, I believe. So over the last 40 years, I can say 40 years for now, this party has provided steady leadership, strong leadership, leadership you can trust, and leadership that you can believe in. And so that is why we continue to grow as a party. That is why this party continue to be the party of choice for the majority here on the island of Nevis. Because when we speak truth, and we respect the people of Nevis. When we speak, we don't call people derogatory names. We don't, abuse people. We don't say things about people that are not nice, as the other side would. And so the characterization of people by the other side is not a part of our overall way of operating. We try to keep it decent because we respect the people of Nevis, and we'll continue to do so, because as the leadership go, so does the party as well. And so some awards were given out down there, and I don't have all of the names of persons who receive awards, but I have the awardees for the constituency of St. James, and I want to mention Mrs. Patricia Jeffers, which is Pats down the range. Congratulations to you, Pats. You would have received an award for your long-standing contribution to the constituency of St. James, but by extension the Concerned Citizens Movement. You have been there for many, many years as one who have kept our democracy going in terms of ensuring that you check the list and ensure that persons who should be voting in St. James can vote, should vote, and those who should not be there. Yeah, and so I want to congratulate you, Patricia, for your commitment and your dedication to this party as well. I also want to say that Mr. Clarence Jeffers was recognized. He's no longer with us, so he received a posthumous award. But Clarence was there for many, many years as well, a part of the executive of the party. I met him on the executive way back in 2006. So he was there prior to that, and he was there even up until his passing, I must say. And so he would have dedicated his life and time to this party and to the island of Nevis, because if you get involved with party politics in some way, it therefore means, if you do so from a serious standpoint, it means that you have determined and decided to take on the responsibility of charting the course of the island of Nevis to ensure that better come to us and better come to the generations that will follow us in the future. So Clarence would have done a remarkable job. May his soul continue to rest in peace, and all of the other awardees would have come and received their awards, and I want to congratulate them all except Burley Walwyn. I must mention that as a friend of mine. He's now departed as well. He would have received a posthumous award as well. So Burley himself was one who spearheaded the constituency group up there in Gingerland, St. George's, and so he was a member of the Concerned Citizens Movement up until his passing as well. Unfortunate passing, but he was recognized by his constituency rep, the Honorable Eric Evelyn, and so we all join in saying may his soul rest in peace, and thank him and his family for the time and work that he would have put in to ensure that this party stay alive and continue to excel. Okay, so while we were there, though, we looked at quite a number of things were done there in terms of speeches and so forth. And let me congratulate the featured speaker, Miss Nelia Jones. Those of us who are, I would say, old enough and follow the exploits of our young people, we know Nelia was once the was crowned Miss Teenage, talented teen here on Nevis, and then went to the national stage. I think it's the Haynes Smith Teenage Talent Show or something like that it's called. She became the winner in that as well too. So she would have done well here in Nevis, went to the national stage and excelled there and became the winner there as well. But a wonderful person, excellent and wonderful personality, and she did a marvelous job in presenting the feature address there. And even during and or after the speech, many comments were expressed, and persons were moved and certainly pleased with the presentation. Clean and wholesome, to the point, and that's what it is. No cussing. And as I said, no cussing, there was a particular person who was there, not from Nevis, well, from Nevis originally, but she was visiting. And, after the event, I had a conversation with her, and she said, I came and I sat and I listened, and I didn't hear one soul cussing up there on the stage. Not one soul cussed anybody, not one soul said anything derogatory about anybody, and not one soul went down the negative path. All positive messages were presented down there. And that is how we look at Nevis and Nevisians. Respect must be there at all times. And that is why the positive messages were all delivered down there, because of the respect that we accord to the whole of Nevis. And that is why this party will always be the party of choice. And we always say we have a big blue tent. There's space under the tent. If you're over on the other side and you're not happy with what's going on over there, come on over. Come on over. We'll embrace you, because there were persons down there at the convention who I've never seen at our conventions before, of course, but they chose to come this time. And there are persons who continue from day to day, have been saying that, listen, based on what they're seeing with this politics and Nevis, they would prefer to stick with a party that makes sense and a party that is heading in the right direction. Yeah, a party that is working to bring development to the island of Nevis. And so when we had our speeches down there, I would have had my little bit to say, and I certainly looked at some of the projects and so some of the initiatives that we would have had in St. James over the years that has helped to transform the constituency of St. James. It is the best constituency in Nevis. And as a matter of fact, I believe we had the largest contingent at the convention, because when I asked during the period of roll call, which I had from the stage, I asked for St. James to, make their noise. St. John's, St. George's, St. Paul's, and St. Thomas Parish. And then when it was all said and done, we didn't have, what do you call it? There's a meter that you use to measure noise. Whatever, maybe a decimeter or something, I don't even, whatever it's called. But anyway, we didn't have one. But based on the noise, I know that St. James was in the house and making some noise down there. So I went through some of the accomplishments that we have had over there that has helped to transform the constituency of St. James. And of course, I just spoke about the whole water taxi facility, the resurfacing of the Island Main Road heading up to Newcastle Shaw's Road, housing in Shaw's Road, the Newcastle Police Station and Fire Hall, University Heights, VOJ and Sporting Complex, the purchase of 36 acres up there at Garner's estate that is next to University Heights, the purchase of 13.9 acres of land down at Herbert Beach concrete road up in roads up in Fountain, roads in Potworks, housing in Nisbet Settlement, roads in Brick Hill, of course. Those of you who are familiar with down the range, for example, it was once a two-strip road, two bit of concrete road going down there. Now it's a highway almost going down to the bottom of what do you call it? Down the range, you know. And then of course Cedar View housing development, one of the best here on the island of Nevis. Roads in Butlers, that network that we would have completed there some months ago up in Butlers. And of course the road connecting Eden Brown to Mannings, all that was done during my time. And sometimes I don't want to touch on this, but even that new business down there at the bottom of Matty Bottom, just across from the racetrack, the funeral parlor. I remember when that came, and we certainly would have loaded it over in that area to sort of expand the village of Butlers and those areas and New River, and bring some life to New River, which is a part of St. James. So all those were done down there, you know, and over there in St. James. And all of these projects and initiatives would have led to the enhancement of the constituency of St. James, so that persons meet me from time to time and say, boy, I'm moving to St. James, over there is where all the action is at. And so the current representative went on radio and say, St. James have gone backward since I've been with the CCM. It's on my Facebook page. If you want to hear what she said, just log on to my Facebook page and I have it pinned right there where he says St. James have gone backward. Now these are what you call backwards. Yeah? These are what you call backwards. And as a matter of fact, let me say this, because you see, this lady is being paid monthly to represent the people of St. James. And I want to say to her that the people of St. James have been looking for you, wondering where you are, and wondering if you are really still their representative. Because I said last time I was here that that road over there, Shaw's Road, had become a dangerous thoroughfare, so to speak, speeding by motorists. And so the family members who are walking on those roads at afternoons with their children and so forth, doing their leisurely walk or their exercise, it had become dangerous. And so we would have gone about, you know, lobbying. And when I say we, I mean me. I would have gone about lobbying for that road, those speed bumps to be placed on that road, 5 of them. And they were placed there, yes. And then the complaints came that they were not marked so that they can be seen, and now they have been marked so you can see. I saw a design up in Orlando a few weeks ago, and I said, let me take a picture. Boom. Oh, my good friend took the picture there, then Rick but he was in the vehicle with me. He took the picture and forwarded it to me, so I brought it back and asked my friend there, Danny Williams, listen, use this so that you can actually see these lines before you get to the speed bump. So it's like alerting you that a speed bump is coming up. But then the next step now is to get the signage done. Those will be ordered in and posted or erected over there. So at least you will be alerted even more now when they are erected that you're heading up to a speed bump. Yeah? So that's what you do as a representative. I'm not the local rep, but I still have St. James in my blood, in my heart, all over me. Yeah? St. James is still near and dear to me, because some people, yeah, would fight for certain things, and in the end they turn out to be failures. I said down there on the platform down there during the convention that sometimes persons would tend to give up something good, looking for something better, only to end up with something worse. And that is what we have ended up with in St. James. St. James have really gone backwards under this current representative. You know, she tried to spin it on me. But I know St. James was a progressive constituency under my watch. And it will be so again. It will be so again. And I'm saying it here from these microphones that, listen, people must understand that when you select or vote for someone to represent you, they must represent. And even if they're not in government, they must represent by way of advocating on your behalf. Because like these speed bumps, if some advocacy was there, then of course Public Works would have heard and acted accordingly. I advocated and they got done. As simple as that. Drainage and guts and bridges and sidewalks are being cleaned up in St. James, because I was looking on and say, what's going on here? There's a representative, Shopgut. I wonder if she knows where Shopgut is anyway. Up in Shopgut had run away in terms of place was overgrown, done by the Medical University of the Americas, done by the police station. All these guts have been cleaned up in recent times because I have advocated for them to be done. And they have been done. And I'll continue to advocate because you know what? I said it before and I'll say it again. St. James is where I was born and raised. And I've lived practically all my life in St. James. And so whatever happens in St. James, I want to live comfortably over there. And that is why we went and did the police station. I advocated for that to be done. And when the Honorable Van Samry, God bless his soul, said, Minister Jeffers, I leave it in your capable hands. No money, no resources, but he said he left it in my capable hands. And I said, we'll get it done. And all of the projects over there that were done. So when I hear people talking, yeah, I don't worry, because I know that whatever is to be done in St. James, it can only take someone like me to get it done. So we'll go ahead and do what we have to do. And so we'll say to the current representative, continue to look out for your money, your land, and yourself. While you do that, I'll look after the people of St. James and the constituency of St. James. Yeah? So that is my admonition to you, because some people are just into power and prestige. But I think when it's all said and done, people are looking towards a representative to work on their behalf and to represent them. So let's move right along. Earlier this week, my time is going fast. Earlier this week, we had a visit from Taiwan ICDF, which is the entity or the agency that is going to be funding those components at the Van Samry International Airport, for which we have applied to them for financing. And when I speak about the various components that they'll be financing, these are the landside components. For example, the fire hall, the refurbishment of the control tower, the passenger terminal expansion and rehabilitation, the customs building, a brand new customs building, and of course the construction of a brand new bypass road. Those components will be funded by Taiwan ICDF to the tune of 19.2 million US dollars. So they came earlier this week to meet with the necessary persons and personnel who are involved in the project and who will do the necessary preparations leading up to the signing of that particular loan document and of course the drawdown. And I will say that based on the discussions we would have had, we're hoping to have the final loan document signed by the middle of December, and then the first drawdown by the middle of January. So we're moving with alacrity and we're moving quickly. Of course, along the way, at some point we would have had anticipated dates when we'll get going with this project. But there are certain things that are out of our control. For example, some of the lands that we were hoping to have in our possession since months ago did not happen, simply because we were waiting on the agents here on the island who are representing those landowners who are not in the federation. We are waiting to get the original certificate of title so that we can process the necessary documents and make payment. You cannot pay someone for land and they're not the rightful owner, or you cannot pay persons for land until you can establish that they are the rightful owners. And so you need that original certificate of title. So we have now had those documents in our possession, and I'm hoping by next week we're able to make the necessary drawdowns to pay those persons. Then we can say we have all of the larger chunks of lands that we need for this expansion. And so the team came from Taiwan ICDF and met with, of course, our legal advisor, Mrs. Helen Lewis, our permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, that is Mr. Colin Dorr, along with our project manager, Mr. Michael Perkins, and of course myself as the project coordinator. And of course we had persons on their side from Taiwan ICDF, would have been their chief lending, someone from their lending division, and of course specialists who are normally engaged in these type of negotiations and documents and so forth. and indeed other technical persons were there from Taiwan ICDF, and we met for those days, Tuesday the 4th, Wednesday the 5th, and Thursday the 6th, and so we were able to wrap up all of those negotiations then to lead us towards signing of that loan document, hopefully by the middle of December. And then, of course, we're hoping to have a drawdown of those funds to get the project going, let's say by the middle of January. And I say these things based on what is documented. We now have to do our work to ensure we get to these particular timelines, or fulfill these particular timelines, so that we can get this thing going. And of course, why? We know that we have said it in the past, that this airport or this facility has not had any work done on it in terms of upgrade since somewhere around, the last time it was done is somewhere around 1998, for a couple of years, 98, 99, 2000, when all of the work was completed, I believe somewhere back there, early 2000s. And then, of course, we can safely say that the facility have fallen into a state of disrepair, and the runway is not the appropriate length, and the surface is in a state of disrepair. And many airlines don't come because, of course, they won't come because it is not long enough. That's one. And two, they would be concerned about any damages to their aircraft, of course. Yeah. So we are now trying to remedy all of those situations and to make the current situation much better than what it is currently, extend the runway to at least 6,000 feet, and indeed increase parking areas down here to the south, and also improve the parking area in front of or north of the terminal, right in front of the passenger terminal, and indeed build a brand new fuel farm, build a brand new FBO facility, build a hangar. And of course, I did mention the other components on the land side that we'll be taking care of. These are some of the things on the air side, really. Improvement in the lighting and so forth, runway lighting. So when it's all said and done, we'll have a brand new facility, improved and brand new in many regards. And so that would increase the reliability and remove some of the negative impacts that are there now, so that we can start to build towards the future. This will certainly have a serious impact, a positive impact on our tourism product, and as such the investment that we're making will be in terms of ensuring that we can invest in our future, invest in our young people, because there will be many jobs that will be created up there. And so our young people must be thinking about going abroad to study and get training in the various areas that will be needed up there at the Van Summer International Airport when it's all said and done. So the infrastructure is being improved so as to accommodate the Embraer 175, and that is a regional jet that comes out of flies throughout the United States, and of course it flies out of Miami into areas such as Dominica, the British Virgin Islands, and currently into Anguilla. And of course we are hoping to have multiple flights coming in here, because with all of the developments that are proposed for Nevis, then of course this airport will play a pivotal role in ensuring that all people can come directly to us. So we have heard about the SSZ, which is the Special Sustainability Zone that is proposed for the south side of Nevis. All these infrastructural upgrades are meant to accommodate such development and to provide that network through which persons who are going to come to Nevis, whether with their private jets, whether they're going to come on, let's say, an American Eagle or some other airline that has similar type jets that will fly into Nevis, the infrastructure is there for them to come directly to the island of Nevis. Nevis is right on the cusp of development, and we want to provide the island with what is necessary so that we can launch and get things done. And so the next level of development is what we are pressing forward with. So I just mentioned about this SSZ because, of course, that is what is being talked about these days. And indeed, when the discussion started some months ago, all of the negatives were out there. Everything negative was being talked about. Yeah, we have heard so many false information being spread. And now I understand the NRP is going throughout the Caribbean on all kind of radio stations to say they're talking against this project and talking against this government and talking about, against the island of Nevis. So everything negative about the project is being talked about. Everything negative about the island of Nevis is being talked about. Everything negative about CCM, they're out there pushing that. One of the things I would say though is this. There's so many things happening in some of these islands, yeah? So many negative things. I've heard things out of Antigua where almost $15 million worth of vehicles have ended up in all kind of islands and countries and in people's hands, private plate and them and so forth. Monies that were gotten out of the Ministry of Finance and Minister of Finance don't know. All of these things are out there, but do you hear anybody from Antigua calling Nevis and talking about that? Down in Barbados, crime rate is rampant down there. Do you hear anybody in Barbados calling Nevis radio station, Von Radio, or any other radio station around here to spread anything about their country or the island, in this island called Nevis? Anguilla have its problem down there with water and crime and all kind of things. You hear anybody from Anguilla calling Nevis, calling Von Radio to talk about Anguilla? I ain't hear nobody from Dominica, from St. Lucia calling, and all of them got their problems. All of them have their issues. But this NRP party that don't like the people of Nevis, that don't like the island of Nevis, that will do anything to bring down the island of Nevis, and then what? So they go on all these radio stations to spread all kind of things about the island of Nevis, whatever lies they're spreading, yeah? Hoping to do what? Because from when I last checked, I believe there might be the most, maybe a handful of persons who live in Anguilla from Nevis. But you're preaching to the entire population down there in Anguilla. Who cares? What does the people of Anguilla care? But you know what? They said two enemies will always join together against a common foe. And there are some enemies right down there in Anguilla. And I don't care who say, I say. But I'm not calling one name. But we know what's going on. So they invite these people out of the NRP down there to come on radio stations to spread bad things about the island of Nevis. But you would never hear someone from Anguilla call up Von Radio to spread anything bad about Anguilla. And they have their problems. I remember the days of GST when that was biting them in the butt down there, and I never hear nobody calling here to complain. But NRP, that traitor to the island of Nevis, want to call up the whole world to say all that is bad about Nevis. But here's what they're saying, which is a bunch of lies. They say we'll have an apartheid state in the island of Nevis, which is so false. They say over there will have its own constitution. These are the things they're out there saying. That is false. Let me ask the people of Nevis this. And St. Kitts as well too. You all think that Prime Minister Drew is going to give up his authority and his prime ministership to anybody in this country? Just cede it to them? See it there. Take it. Dr. Drew? Never. You all think Premier Brantley is going to get up and say, well, boss, I'm giving up my power to somebody in a zone? That makes sense? Just ask yourself these questions. When you hear them talking about they'll have their own constitution, the constitution is what it is, the supreme document that governs this country. And of course, if you read the bill section 6 speaks about national security, the court, and all of those matters that remains under the control of or within the ambit of the Constitution. But you just have to read. And I heard it being said that the NRP will be glad to say all kind of lies because they believe that people are not reading. But I am so glad that the CCM in government would have decided to have consultation with various stakeholders here on the island to bring the truth. And so when you hear all these things about, there'll be a threat to national security, creation of a private country within a country or island within an island. Nah, people, be warned when it comes to this NRP, eh? Be warned when it comes to this NRP. They spread this 80-acre lie back in 2006. They spread it, they knew it was false. They knew it was false, and they know for a fact that these things are false. But they keep pushing the same narrative. But it's been drowned out now, I'm not hearing much of it, but they're gone foreign now. After they realize in our working Nevis, they're gone foreign. But the people of Nevis will deal with them when the time comes. Yeah? People of Nevis will deal with them. And that is why, like I said, I'm so happy and so proud that the concerned citizens movement in government have decided to take it to the people and go out there and have these consultations. Yes, they have had consultation. They've had consultation with the Chamber of Industry and Commerce down there at Four Seasons. They have had consultation with both opposition members here on the island of Nevis. And even after talking to them, one of them went along out and said something completely different to what was discussed. I wasn't there. But based on what I understand is that, based on what was said there, she then went and said something completely different. But that's a problem anyway. Dishonesty. The Christian Council and Evangelical Association, they met with them. They met with the police high command. They met with the general public at large right down there at the, the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall. And so they created their ruckus down there. They came intending to create confusion, you know. And that they did, but that's okay. The sensible persons and decent people in that meeting sat there, listened, and asked the appropriate question. I sat in the back for a good, well, I had my reasons for sitting in the back. One was to gauge, be back there and gauge. And I listened to them back there, right? And everything that was said on the platform, you found someone in the back there, one of the NRP, what do you call him? NRP hacks or whatever you want to call him, supporters. They had something to say. And I say, listen, if something is said and it is not clear to you, you ask for clarification. But have some respect. And respect the folks who are on the podium or on the platform they're speaking. Respect. We have been known as a society that respect each other. Listen, we went to school. We were taught well in our homes. We went to school and we were taught well to have respect and common decency. And so all of these things that they're spewing on Facebook, calling people all kind of names, Lord of mercy, I can't even repeat them on radio. Them kind of things, they won't improve the lives of no one in this island. They won't improve your paycheck. They won't improve your standard of living. It won't bring our infrastructure to any better standard. So all them words, they don't mean a thing to me. What is important is to bring a positive message to the people, a message of hope, a message that is so positive that people would understand who is for them and who is against them. So who else the CCM would have met with? I'm going all over, you know. Let's see. Oh shucks, time is almost done. They met with the sixth form students. I think an hour is very short, but anyway, we'll keep it short. They met with also those heavy equipment operators and owners down there at the St. Paul's Anglican Hall. And so, it's all good for the concerned citizens movement to continue to bring that positive message. Are there going to be different opinions out there? Of course. And that is what a democracy is all about. Of course. But when it's all said and done, you have to look at pros and cons, benefits and so forth. And there are so many upsides to this project that I would think that a concerned citizens movement is on the right track to bring development to this island. And you know, NRP supporters have met me and asked me, boy, when you are going to start the project? They have been saying it, boy, when you are going to start the project? No keep no more town hall meeting. No need to have any more. I'm talking just like them, yeah? Because when you're on the street. But anyway, they've asked when we're going to start. And they're telling us soon. Yeah? Soon. But I want to say in closing with this matter here, yeah, is that, you see, when they go on these radio stations in these islands, you could see that these journalists are not prepared for anything because the hard questions should be asked of them, you know. If they were to come here and be interviewed by my friend here, Herbert, he would ask the hard question. Because the first thing I would ask all of these NRP leader and whoever is going out there and pushing this agenda, have you sold any lands over on the south coast to the developers? Yeah. First question, have you sold any lands? Have you collected any money? And why did you say that if it is found out that you would have sold lands and whatever, you're going to resign? Are you ready to resign? That's the kind of question you'll have to ask. Because some people have sold 60 acres out there, NRP hacks. 30 acres, 25 acres, 10 acres, 5 acres, and they've collected millions already. But they're going out there telling poor people don't sell your land, yeah? And they're going up and down the Caribbean saying that lands are being sold in Nevis when they don't collect from lands that they have sold. But anyway, let's leave it there for now. Time is up. And I want to thank our technical persons here for giving me the signal. Time is up. So I want to say thanks for listening this afternoon. It has been my pleasure being here. And as I always say, if you go to church on a Saturday, go on church, serve your God. If you go on a Sunday, do likewise. Say a prayer for this station, say a prayer for me, and say a prayer for the entire Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis so that God would continue to bless us. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe and see you next time around.
Program was solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views